you could have just went like, oh, it's late.
Dream to me, it's a dream to me. Rather have the dream inside my reality.
Take one.
Complications in my life, yo, I'm living in. Working 9 to 5, I was there by 10. Wanna do better, got another way. Send my way out, just my dad saying that's okay.
So, off Bucks, you may notice. Shit. I'm sorry. You may notice a bit of a quality difference, and that's because I'm using right now my iPhone XS rear-facing camera. But before I was using the same phone I'm using now, but the front-facing camera, and I was able to see myself whole time, right? But now I can't, and this is weird, right? So if there's anybody out there, my fucking throat is burning. I don't know why. I mean, it's not burning. I kind of over-exaggerated, but it it's kind of irritating me. But if anybody is out there that knows the name of the accessory that I can use, in which that I can see myself, but still record with the rear-facing camera, that would be dope, because I deadass was looking around the house for like a mirror or something that I can use as a reflection so I can see myself. Cause I'm a cheap motherfucker. Just want to let y'all know that. So right now I can't see myself, right? So hopefully everything turns out good. Hopefully everything turns out straight. Hopefully I'm positioned right. I just can't, like, fuck, yo, this is weird, Mo. All right, man, fuck it. You know what? All right, we good, right? We good. Hopefully. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. What's the name of this? 3 true crazy intruders. You know, off Bucks, that motherfuckers ended motherfuckers in all 3 of these videos, all 3 of these stories was fucking up. Straight bullshit. You know why, right? Cause motherfuckers didn't lock no fucking doors. You heard that right? I didn't say shit. I didn't say nothing at all. You know what? I'm gonna just stop talking. We're gonna go right into it, right? Cause I know a lot of y'all don't like me talking, but a lot of y'all do. We just gonna go into it. But all I'm saying is, motherfuckers didn't lock their doors, their windows, no vents, no nothing. That's why they got intruders, and that's why they was on that fuck shit. Just saying. Sup? Y'all can probably notice I don't know. Y'all probably notice a lot more detailed things.
Several decades ago, my grandfather used to have this crazy neighbor who lived on a ridge overlooking his home in central Missouri.
Right.
The guy was an insane conspiracy nut who didn't allow electronics of any kind on his property and refused to recognize the local police department's authority over him. People in the neighborhood called him Tanner. I guess you could label him as what's called a sovereign citizen. The guy,
or you can label him as a crazy bitch. No, sorry.
An arsenal of various weapons, killed animals for meat, brewed his own booze, and grew his own vegetables. My grandpa lost track of how many times the police drove past his house to climb the ridge and confront him. There was once a standoff that lasted most of the day, where the guy wouldn't leave his house until the cops had to pull his front door off with a chain tied to a truck. He would spend brief periods of time in jail for disorderly conduct, hunting on other people's property, and resisting arrest, but he would always return home eventually. The cops warned my grandfather's family that the guy was not to be approached for any reason, and if there was ever a problem, just call them instead.
Or Adidas.
They reported that Tanner set traps in his own lawn and had shackles and chains in his back room.
See, what the fuck, Mo? Come on. Damn. Shit. It's clearly something wrong with this motherfucker. That's all I'm saying. Just saying. Motherfucker got shackles? Motherfucker got traps? Fuck.
My grandfather only has one distinct memory of him. One winter, he was smoking on his back porch when the crack of a rifle being fired way too close made him jump. And a short-tailed hawk fell out of the sky, bounced off the porch railing right next to him, and landed on his lawn.
I'm not eating that.
My grandfather looked up in shock as the hawk thrashed on the ground.
I'm not eating that.
From the ridgeline above, he heard the man yell, "Don't touch him, he's mine." My grandpa shouted back at Tanner that he would call the cops if he came down onto his property.
Right.
He then went inside and locked the door. Where the real story starts is in the spring, sometime in the early 80s. A rust-colored panel van broke down on my grandfather's street, and the driver pulled off to the side and parked right in the dirt path that led up to Tanner's place, probably not even realizing that it was a driveway. A few hours later, there was a pounding on my grandfather's door. He found 3 very large men asking if he was the one who broke into their van and stole their stuff. My grandfather, not without a good reason, pointed them up the hill towards Tanner's place, and the 3 made their way up the dirt path. From here, I'm going to speak about what the police eventually reported to my grandfather. The 3 men kicked in Tanner's door when they arrived, and the first one through the door stepped into a bear trap.
Oh,
It
dang.
was laid out on the floor in the dark hallway.
Oh, shit.
Then Tanner, who had apparently been waiting for them outside in the bushes, hit the other 2 with bear mace and forced them down the hall into his back room, where he attempted to subdue them and chain them to the wall, but one escaped. Nearly blind, he stumbled into what the police described as a barbed-wired net.
Bruh, I would hate to go over his house. Shit. Y'all, if I ever had an uncle like this, what's his name? What's his name? Uncle Tanner or something like that. And somebody said, "Hey, pack your stuff up. We going to Uncle Tanner's house this summer." Hey, fucking up. You messing with that shit. He got bear traps out the ass. He has mace out the ass. He has guns on guns on guns. He has traps on the toilet seat. I can't even take a shit without my ass getting bit off. Fuck is you doing? Fuck is you talking about? Uncle Tanner missed me with that shit. There's something wrong with that motherfucker.
That Tanner had set up near his back door. From down the ridge, my grandfather sat by his shed and waited to hear the commotion. But when he started hearing screams and gunshots, he called the police. When the police arrived, they found the front door wide open and several small traps set throughout the house, including an axe that was made to swing down from the ceiling.
Oh my God!
One of the men were found shackled in the back room with a knife shoved through his hand. The man in the net had been shot 4 times and was left to bleed out.
Jesus.
Tanner was nowhere to be found. When my grandfather asked what happened to the 3rd man, the police reported that there were only 2 found in the house. Both men survived and were taken to the hospital, but afterwards they were arrested for outstanding warrants. The police didn't specify, but they implied that they had been smuggling drugs or stolen goods in the van, and that's what Tanner had stolen from them. Tanner himself was never seen after that, though my grandfather did hear a report on the radio a few years later that a man matching his description was found dead in a ditch in Kentucky. I've always considered that to be one of the craziest home invasion stories I've ever heard.
What I'm saying.
To this day, my family still jokes around about the missing bear trap man. Shortly after that happened, my grandfather moved across state to a different house, but he did return once to his old house just for a look, and he could have sworn that he noticed somebody looking down at him from the hill above.
Yo, Uncle Tanner is a crazy motherfucker. Traps out the ass. That's...
Full disclosure, I don't expect you to believe my story.
Okay.
No one ever does. But it's legitimately one of those incidents where the truth is stranger than fiction. My older brother is a ventriloquist. He once had one of those dummies he would perform with and everything. Back in the mid-90s, he was vacationing with his girlfriend in a small lake house in Vermont. He was awoken in the middle of the night by someone banging on his front door. His girlfriend was fast asleep, but he walked out into the dark of the living room to find some drunken moron pounding on his door.
See, that's it. That's where you fucking up right there. If you in your house, right, middle of the night, you're not expecting nobody whatsoever, right, and you hear a heavy ass knock, right, at your front door, you better fake like you sleep. Or act like you don't hear that shit. That's like red flag 101. I'm talking about. If you don't expect nobody at your motherfucking house, and you hear something like a come on, you better act like you sleep. And if you with your girl or your wife, and she want to check that shit out, all right, go right ahead. But if you get fucked up, don't you call me.
You need to pay him his money.
Is this still? Hold on. Is this still recording? Because I don't know if the shit is still. I can't see shit, so I don't know if it's still recording. No, we good. All right, cool. All right, sorry.
My brother had no idea who this Andy was and was about to open the door and tell the guy to get lost when the blade of a hatchet smashed through the small window pane in the door.
Jesus.
This is the moment when my brother probably performed the best ventriloquist show of his life. Out of pure panic, he threw his voice to just outside the entrance to the screened-in front porch where the guy was standing, and in a tough Brooklyn cop-type voice, he called out, "Freeze, punk! I've got a gun!" The drunk guy outside staggered and turned his head around and went,
"Oh, shit. Freeze, punk! I got Adidas." Fuck is you talking about?
"The fuck?" Before my brother threw his voice to the opposite side of the porch. "You're surrounded! Police! Drop the weapon!" My brother claims the guy stood there stupidly for a few seconds, looking in both directions, and then he dropped the hatchet. My brother then opened the door, then called out to absolutely no one. "I've got him, guys. Lower your weapons." The drunk guy slowly sat down on the ground and started sulking, claiming that he thought Andy lived here and he didn't want to go back to prison.
It's a setup.
For the next 40 minutes, my brother made conversation with two imaginary people on either side of the porch.
What the hell?
There were cops actually there.
What the fuck?
Until the real police arrived. He said the whole time the drunk guy was fidgety and asking him how long the cops had been waiting for him there if it wasn't even Andy's house. His girlfriend missed the whole thing, slept right through it. In retrospect, my brother said the only reason it worked was because the guy was so drunk, and knocking the panel of glass out of the door helped him, because he was able to vocalize loud enough for the guy to hear him. Amazingly, my brother never pressed charges. The guy was taken away to sleep it off. One of the cops stated that it was one of the most laughably memorable calls he had ever received.
Ain't nothing funny about that shit. Nothing at all. Sorry. I said sorry. Excuse me. I know I stink. I know that was disgusting. But you for it too. Just saying. There's nothing funny about this at all. Like, for all we know, for all I know, this homeless man could have been on some fuck shit. He could have fucked you up. 40 minutes. 40 minutes I'm talking to him. 40 minutes. That's a long time. 40 minutes. That's 40 minutes worth of minutes. Like, come on, bro. Like, he could have easily did something to you. And your wife sleep. come on, bro. Like, fuck is you doing, bro? Like, 40 minutes. He could have done so much to you. So much to you, man. Condom necessary. You miss me with that.
I live in a dirt cheap housing complex in Detroit.
Right.
Last year, I was in the process of moving in. I hadn't even been there 2 full days. It was about 11 at night, and the majority of the house was dark because I hadn't plugged in most of my lamps yet. I was upstairs in the smaller bedroom, hanging up some clothes, when I heard the front door open downstairs.
The fuck is you talking about? Huh? Huh? What's really going on in here? Okay, I can see what's going on. I told y'all it was gonna be a bunch of bullshit. Cause I mean, what you mean? You heard the door open? Like you're supposed to be the only motherfucker in the house. So what you mean? What you mean? You heard a door open? Fuck out of here.
The door was old and warped.
So
and once it was fully shut, you really had to fight to force it open, twisting the knob as far as you could, and then putting your shoulder into it. It wasn't locked, mostly because I figured that there was no point. No one was going to bother trying to break into this old, decrepit place. I stood up and walked out into the hallway and looked down into the dark living room below. I heard someone rummaging around in the kitchen.
No, you didn't.
Where I had left my phone and laptop on the counter.
No, you didn't.
Figuring that it was my friend who came back because she forgot something, I called out, "Hey, Patty, is that you?"
Hell no.
Silence from downstairs. Now, I consider myself to be a pretty tough person,
Oh yeah.
but I can also be extremely reckless.
Right.
I yelled out angrily and stormed down the stairs. Convinced that someone had wandered into my house to rob me, I grabbed an umbrella I left on the stairs, ready to wield it like a sword. There was no thought in my mind about what would happen if the intruder had a gun, or if there was more than one of them. When I turned the corner into the living room and looked into the kitchen, there was no one there.
I just want to say, fuck you, bitch. You could have easily stayed upstairs. You could have easily stayed upstairs, locked the door, called the police. Not said nothing on the phone, and let them bitches trace the call. Boom. Police just pop up out of nowhere. What I'm saying, you didn't have to go down there and be fucking brave. You didn't have to go down there, with your non-Adidas header.
I stood still for a moment and just listened. The only light on the ground floor was coming from a single lamp that I had plugged in by the stairs. There was enough light to see that there was no one there. Deciding not to let my guard down, I took 3 careful steps forward, umbrella raised high, and turned my head to look at the far side of the kitchen where the pantry is. Right as I did, the pantry door swung open softly. It wasn't completely closed, so when it opened, it barely made a whisper of a sound. The man who stepped out from behind looked me dead in the eye, and I nearly fell to my knees in terror. From beneath the man's hood, his face looked pasty and melted. His skin was stretched so thin across his skull, it looked like a layer of cellophane.
I mean, real talk, I can tell you bullshitting. Bullshitting, there we go. Because when the pantry door opened, you had all the time in the world to analyze exactly what he looked like. You had all the time in the world to count the individual fucking pores on his face. So that whole time that you used to to analyze exactly what he looks like, you could have grabbed that umbrella, held it tight, in one swift motion. You could have just went like, oh, late across his face. I don't care who the fuck it is, and then hold ass like a motherfucker. But no, you want to analyze his face and shit. You want to count the motherfucker pores on his face. Fuck you, bitch.
His mouth was a sideways gash, and his nose was barely more than a lump protruding from just below his eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Both of his eyes were open so wide, they looked as big as light bulbs.
Wow.
I dropped my umbrella and took a step back.
That's what I'm saying.
I was petrified, convinced in that moment that it was some kind of demon.
What the hell?
To drag me down to hell. The figure had my laptop and a container of cold turkey in his arm. In his other hand, he held an ice pick that was pointed at my face.
Right.
He muttered in a slurred voice that he was leaving. And just like that, he power walked out of my living room and into the night. I fell to my knees on the kitchen floor and tried to catch my breath. The man hadn't been physically large or imposing. In fact, he was shorter than I was. But his face had caught me so off guard that my insides turned to ice water. From outside, I heard a car horn and the squeal of tires, and the sound of someone yelling. I crawled over to the door, intending just to slam it shut, but then I noticed the headlights of a car stopped in the road. The container of food was splattered all over the ground, and my laptop was right beside it. A man climbed out of the car and cried out for someone to call the cops, that some idiot had run out in front of his car, and he struck him. It took the police close to an hour to arrive.
Damn!
Of course, by that time...
See? That's how I mean, an hour for the police to arrive. Are you fucking... See, this is why I don't mess with the police like that. Like, if I'm in danger, really? A whole hour before they come? This is why you need Adidas. This is why you need the best of the best. So you can just handle shit on your own. So you can depend on Adidas. I'll tell you right now, depending on the type of Adidas you have on deck, that you have at that moment in time, and if you're in a collective situation, Adidas is going to protect you more than a policeman would, or a policewoman would, or a police person, there we go, would, ever could. They, in a whole hour before the police got there, you could have been fucked hard. No condom necessary, bro. In that time frame of, let me make sure this bitch is still recording. Okay, we good. I told you I can't see nothing. So in that time frame for that, you know, see what I'm saying? The bitch cut off on me. I don't even know if this is like the same angle, camera angle, or like the same like position I was before. But if it's not, I'm sorry. This is just like a test video reaction of using like the rear facing camera. But yeah, it's a whole gap you could have been easily fucked with in an hour. You know how long you can be a whole hour on and off being fucked with.
I was sitting on my front step, wrapped in a blanket and smoking a cigarette, when the cops came over, and I described the man's face as best I could, to which the cop asked, "Like a burn victim?" I nodded my head. He said he knew exactly who that was, and that they would look around for him and check the hospitals in case he was badly hurt. They said his name was Marvin, and that he had been trapped in a burning car when he was a kid, and now he was homeless, and mostly broke into cars looking for valuables to pawn. I didn't go out onto the street to collect my belongings. I felt awful, like I had just deprived a man of the only meal that he was likely to get that night. It crossed my mind that he had been trying to hide in the pantry, and that he was more scared of me than I was of him. I never found out what happened to him, but I do hope he's okay.
I don't. Fuck that bitch. Man, see, I don't feel nothing for y'all at all. Like,
there's always a reason to be afraid.
come on. No, seriousness, no. Make sure you lock everything. I mean, it doesn't get no more simpler than that. Like, lock everything in your motherfucking house, please. Otherwise, you're gonna have motherfuckers coming in inside your house. Just saying, you don't want that. I know you don't want that, unless you're about that bullshit. Then you want that, you know. And if your significant other, your partner, you know, is about that bullshit and stay leaving shit unlocked, it's time for you to dump that person. Just saying. You know, I don't care how long the relationship is. Y'all could have been together 3, 4, 5 years, right? But if your significant other, your partner, just started with like some bullshit, and I mean, you know, like leaving shit unlocked, even at night, it's time to let that person go ASAP, because your partner is about to get both of y'all fucked up. I understand.